Yeah, so I guess some more people are on their way. Here we go, there's another person. Yeah, so it seems like there's been a lot of confusion and anger and rage and crying. Sorry about that. Uh, so it seems like there was a lot of issues at once. I think I tried to deal with everything. Uh, First issue, too many assignments. Second issue, reflection videos. Third issue, confusing course documentation. Other issues, I don't know. Anyways, so no more reflection videos. They're out. Uh, I don't know why I thought it was a good idea. It didn't work that well for me either. It took me like a work day to download 100 videos, and then I was going to give you feedback, but then I had to start working on making changes instead. So the whole purpose with the videos were, of course, for you to get some feedback from me. And I know you haven't gotten a lot of feedback yet, but anyways. And I have made PDFs. So we're doing away with Google Docs. Uh, and I think it's all the better. So this is the new course progress. This document replaces the course progress Google document, which was probably a bit confusing. So here we have more of a Gantt scheme-like timeline, so you can see more clearly. One thing I should have said here, though, is that I'm extending the deadline for reflection paper A1. So I will add that to this sheet. It will be November 10th. Okay, so you can hand in reflection paper for A1 also November 10th, which means that if, for those of you, if any haven't really gotten started or are too confused and outraged to have done anything, you can still do this. You know, you do 3 character maquettes. Granted, it's a lot of work, but you know, it's doable by November 10th. So I will add that to this sheet. That's the only thing that I can see is wrong. And so this session, we're just going to do a recap. So right now we're going to talk about the course progress and all the changes. And then I think in the lab sessions today, I'll have time to go around, hopefully, and tomorrow, and see some of your work more directly, hopefully. So it's still pretty similar. I've also added, let's see what I've added. So you asked for clear PDFs per assignment, and I think that's probably a good idea. So here you have the assignments. There's 3 assignments that are mandatory right now. So right now there's no more milestones, okay? So that's all gone. There's no final delivery portfolio report. That's gone. So the form of assessment for the course was always portfolio based. So this gives us the opportunity to actually have all of these count towards your portfolio. Okay, whereas before they were pass or fail, and then you were really being graded more on that final project and the report you were writing. Now all of these will factor into the evaluation. Okay. So what's still missing, well, I am sort of fiddling around with it, but it will be an assessment criteria list that's a little bit more defined as to what we expect for the various deliveries. But I will say, and we had some talks about this before you arrived with the class representatives. So it's not that all has to be perfect to achieve a good grade. You know, what's sort of expected is to see a progression, so that you know, if your earliest concept busts are what you consider to be less than optimal, it's still great because then you can show the progression, right? So if you end up with something great over here, and you even do the optional assignment, you can achieve a very good grade even though your early work it's not that much in terms of artistic output. Okay, so and also the artistic output is obviously not the only criteria for the assessment. So we don't only look at the model and say, well, that looks good and that doesn't look good. There are some criterias, right? So we go in and look at. So I will be evaluating the work, and there's also one other internal examiner, and then if you want to challenge the grade, it will go to an external examiner. So that's how that works. So I usually, there's a list of assessment criteria that's provided for the sensors, and so I will provide that to you so that you know exactly what sort of the other criteria are in addition to just your artistic output. But of course, in the end, everything sort of factors in. But and sometimes in like our art courses, this is getting more towards an art course, right? Instead of necessarily just a technical course, because you're getting quite some time to develop your sculpts here. At least with this new layout, you have even more time. So what's been taken out of the curriculum is the PBR, physically based rendering block that we had over here. But I think that's probably a good thing because it's another pretty complex subject, and I think it would have been. I think this allows you, in the end, to have some well-developed sculpts. If you want to, you can also do a production model, which means retopologizing everything, baking it down, the details, so that it will look as close as possible to your sculpt in ZBrush. So for VFX, you would do displacement maps and render it in Arnold. And for games, you do a normal map and you view it in game. Okay, that's what it means to do a production mesh. It means that it's something that can be used in a production, whether it's a movie or a game or whatever. But this is still mandatory, so because I do want everyone to have tried retopologizing and baking and all of that, because it's a very, very useful technique, and it can be applied to not only characters and creatures, but it can be applied to anything in CG, right? So it's very, very common. So I want you to, but yeah, so we can, you can look at each of the assignments. This is the assignment A3 then. Okay, so let's look at the assignments. But first of all, so is this clear? Are there any questions to the course progress? Yeah. Yeah, these are very, very short and like literally 1 to 2 pages in a PDF, where you just provide images of your work for me to see where you're at, and then you can provide like a paragraph of text if you want to say, if you have some specific problems, or if you don't have any problems, it's fine. You just say, "Hello, I'm doing this. Everything is great. See you later." No, these are not graded at all. No, no. So these are what these will be. This is sort of replacing the video thing. This is for me to give you some midpoint feedback that could adjust your work, right? So the whole, in my opinion, like the majority of the feedback should always be formative. Like it should be allowing you to alter your work based on the feedback. So that's why I think these are the most important feedbacks. And we should have had, like I said, the point with the videos were that I would provide you feedback, but you haven't gotten any feedback yet. But this would be the main feedback. Yep. Yeah. If you, yeah. If you want to do, you still want to do reflection videos? Yeah, no, totally. Yeah. As long, huh? Yeah. hmm Yeah. No, totally. So if you want to do a video and include a link in the status report, yeah, of course. But I would appreciate also images because, like I said, well, if you provide a link, that's great, as long as the link works and everything. Yeah. Other questions? No. Yeah. And like I said, I will be posting an assessment criteria document so you can go in and see. And I'll also try to add some words about the weighting, how much does this count versus. But, the grand scheme is pretty obvious. It's like what I said is if your initial sculpts, they're not going to count as much. It's just you've done the work and you show that you've been working, you show the progress. You're not going to go in there and look too harshly at your artistic output. It's just like, okay, you're doing the work. And then that comes a bit later, and you hope to see a progression, right? So that's sort of the strength of this way of portfolio assessment when we can have all of them include in the evaluation. So, which was the case with the final project that you would be working on throughout the period. It's just kind of the same thing, but different. Okay, so if you really want to strive for a good grade, you would have to do A4 though. I want to point that out. If you want an A, there's no way of getting an A if you don't do the A4. Because typically, for an A, like in general, you would have to not only do the work and everything that's required, but you have to do a little bit more, and you have to be a bit creative with it. Put it in your own spin on things. And this is this is a great thing to do. It's very insightful. It's a lot of work, but you do retopologize everything on the character, and if there's accessories, you would retopologize everything, make UV layouts. So next session will be quite technical because then we're talking about making the production mesh, and we're talking a lot about baking. How can you make something look as close as possible to your high-res version and version, make it look like that in-game or in a render. So it's pretty technical. Okay, but and then again, you will have some time, and we'll also do a recap of that session, which I think is necessary. Right. So this would be sort of a midway point where we touch base on what you're doing here, and then you do that status report, right? And then that's it. And then here you hand in the production model of a bust, which is not too much, I think. But if, yeah, so for VFX, this is slightly different from games. So for VFX, typically we'd look at UDIMs. So UDIMs are several UV patches which are needed if you want a really high-res render of a creature, or you can try it with the busts if you want. Yeah, so, yeah. No, you still have to do A3. Yeah, so A1 to A3, they're mandatory, and you can do A4 in addition. Because then you'd have a beautiful render of the bust, and then you'd also have a beautiful render of a full body creature or character. And then you're starting to build your portfolio, not just for the course, but if you want to be doing this, you need to start generating amounts of work. Other questions? Yeah. I don't know. Does it make sense to focus on the one you're more happy with? Like I said, it's not all about the artistic or the aesthetic qualities of something. It's also about like showing your. It's all about showing your progression, showing your progress. And if you're able to reflect a little bit, and if there's one you like better, you can try to analyze why. That would be good. But I wouldn't say that you need to necessarily show that more than the other ones. So it's kind of like we said when we talked a bit earlier, the reflection reports is kind of like you're looking behind the scenes, right? So if you're looking at this beautiful finished render, that's good. But then in the reflection report, we want to look behind the scenes. So we want to see the nuts and bolts and also the versions you're not pleased with and why. And if you had some issues at some point, you would reflect upon that. But it's not to say that maybe you didn't have any issues. Maybe it's okay. That's all right. So that's why it's a bit hard to sort of make this one for all standard, because it's a little flexible. So the requirements for the reflection is not very harsh. It's really mostly about your work and that you show your progress. But I will do my best to make as clear as I can an assessment criteria for the reflection papers. Yes, you first. Yeah. So yeah, production ready means animation friendly topology. So next time we'll talk about that. And it means having good UV solutions. So for games, that means really, really highly optimized UV layouts with minimal texture distortion and minimal waste of UV space. And for VFX, it means that you really need to be conscious of the texel density, which means like what's your final output? What's your final render going to be? How close is the camera going to go on the character? How close can it go? And then you need to do a little bit of calculation to figure out, okay, what's my final texture resolution for the mesh? So, hmm? No. There's no texturing in this course, but since you're doing the UVs, you will do a checkerboard render. And so yeah, so this is stated in the A4 assignment document, but you will do. It needs to be ready to start texturing, basically. Right? Yeah. So it's a production-ready model in that sense that it's technically correct. Right. So, right. So I think I mentioned earlier, like for a creature for a VFX production, this is really important so that it doesn't appear like pixelated on screen. And so, and for the directors, and you need to know how close can you go. So typically for like for a hero asset or a hero character creature, so you can have like 100 4K UDIMs. The camera can go really close and the texture holds. So 100 UDIMs is common. But very huge amounts of data. I don't encourage you to do 100 UDIMs, but a few UDIMs, so that's like more about figuring out the texel density. So it's a little bit technical, but it's very interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you first. Sorry. What's your question? So if yeah. No. No, the reflection paper should be all in writing. It's because, yeah, like I said, like especially if you challenge the grade, what we do is we send off your paper. So yeah, so that's I will. I stated it briefly here. I think it just says that your reflection paper must contain visuals, which is, I hope, evident, because if there's no visuals, you will fail, of course. I hope that's clear. But I'll try to make this more clear, and I'll include some more as much as I can to try to quantify the criteria for the papers. But okay, let me put it this way. If you put a lot of work and effort into the reflection paper and you write this beautiful thing, but your work isn't there, it's not going to lead to a good grade. Whereas the opposite is true. If you do great work and solid work, and your reflection paper, maybe you don't show as much reflection, but you should provide your progression is very important. You show your progress. That could still lead to a good grade. That's why this is a bit flexible. It's not you're not writing a novel. It's more of a technical description, but then you are also writing about your feelings, which is a little bit, it's difficult to assess. Oh, who's to say you're feeling if you're feeling great, I didn't have any problems. Okay, maybe you felt that way. It's fine. This is okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it can't hurt you great. No, that's an excellent question. I thought about that, and I will make that clear in the assessment criteria, and also for the external examiner. Yeah, I think that's good. So it can only help your grade. Well, I guess the way it could potentially hurt your grade is if you don't provide um, any progress, and it raises doubt if it's your work. Then that could potentially really hurt your grade. You know, you could fail if we would think it's not your work, and then it would, these things have happened in the past. It's always unpleasant. There has been people handing in work that's not their own. So you don't want to just provide like a finished model for anything. You have to provide the progress. Yeah, and it takes some work and effort to prove it, but we figure it out. There are some telltale tale signs, but I don't think that's an issue here. You all seemed genuinely concerned, which is a good sign. You want to do this good work, which is great. I think this is better. This is a nice evolution of the course. Yep. Yep. Yeah. You have the option to do that. Yeah. So I said initially, yeah. So that's the change I'm going to make to this PDF. I'm going to do a red line over September 13th. I'm going to write extended until November 10th. Yeah, so that's the change here. So obviously, if you want to like resubmit, since they're now evaluated, you can do that. But I'm saying I wouldn't like you don't have to worry like too much. I understand that you want the best possible grade and you want to do a good job, which is great, and you can so resubmit it. But it's also like I'm saying, it's kind of nice to see a progression in your work. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does, everything doesn't have to be perfect to get an A. A progression is a good thing. Other things. Yeah, so let's look at the assignments. All right, so yeah, so you wanted to have them all in PDFs, and I think that's a good idea. And you were also confused with the naming conventions, so I just put it like this. It's just right here. This is all that you need to deliver, and these are the names. So the reflection paper to fronter, that's the name. ZBrush files to server, this is it. You've probably already done this, so there you go. And like frankly, this is more for archival purposes. Like I won't really go into all of these CPRs and open them and look at them, but we have them for archival purposes, and we can go into them if there's like a question in the assessment, if we're unsure. But this is the important thing. The reflection paper is really, really crucial, obviously, or maybe not, but hopefully making that clear. Very, very, very important. The reflection papers. Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I will make that very, very clear. You also will submit render images, but again, those are more for we like to have them. We want to have your work, and these are more high res than the ones you're including in the report. So, and then there's three conceptual sculpts, pretty short and sweet. Yeah. And assignment two, no, the assignments I think are pretty similar. So here you do the status report, and that's by October 13th. It's not, this is nothing you have to worry about. It's just like putting literally 1 or 2 pages with just images and very short little texts or whatever you want to do if you want to make a link to a video. This is just this will not be assessed at all. It's just like for me to see what you're doing. And yeah, so these are the 3 maquettes. So you will also just upload them to the server, render images of all the maquettes. And there's some info here. And then assignment 3. So assignment 3 is the one where you do a production model, but only of the bust. Just one. Yeah, so it's less crucial. The whole thing with doing more, like if this were a real art course, you have you do even more sculpts, right? It's also about the quantity of the work and gets increasingly better. But I don't see the same point with this because this is just more technical. You do it and you hopefully learn the process. Yeah, so you will submit a render for games. You can do a screen grab from your game engine. So this is where you just take the model into the game engine and you have the normal maps applied. It could be in Unity or Unreal, probably. And for VFX, you do a render in Arnold using displacement maps. And it says, yeah, so in the reflection paper, you should also include a checkerboard render. So we'll talk about this next lecture. This is to check for texture distortion, and also we see the texel density, which is to see if there are more parts and objects and accessories. They all should have the relative same texture resolution. So that's all that means. Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear. You can read over this, and just the workflows are a little bit different. And yeah, that's it. So those are the 3 mandatories. And then this is the optional one. Yeah, so you're in this, the main thing is obviously that you retopologize, do good UVs, and make everything for the full body, which is granted a lot of work. Yeah. If I'm sorry, if you do. No. No, no, no. Well, no. Yeah, I guess. If your bust from A3 is the head of the guy in A4, yeah, uh, yeah, I guess you could. Yeah, I don't know. Hope I don't know, or not. I don't know. Let me dig through this. Um, three. Where's assignment 3? Okay. Yeah, so it's just that it should be it could be from your favorite bust from assignment 1. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess this is all optional, anyways, right? So if you want to use the same head, I guess you could. Yep. Yeah. Oh, you discovered a bug? Thank you. I'm sorry. Remember A2. Yeah. No. Okay. So that's the status report. There might be bugs in here, and please let me know. Hmm. No, if you already delivered it and you don't want to resubmit it, you don't have to worry about it at all. Yeah, just if you want to just upload it in the same place, and then I guess you can add underscore version 2. And I haven't written that specifically, but let's just do that. I'll post a note on that on Frontier. So if you resubmit it and you hand it into the assignment delivery room on Frontier, just add underscore version 2 at the end. Right? Okay. Yep. No, it's not a huge problem. Right. No, it's fine. I mean, PSDs are not compressed as much, so it's just a preferred thing. No one's going to kill you for delivering a PNG, but yeah. But yeah, just try to stick to the formats and everything, because sometimes you know people will deliver kind of unreasonable formats. Which PNG is fine, but it's like this is more like just fail proofing a little bit, because sometimes we get strange formats. You have to unzip this, and then you have to, you know, yeah, flash files and stuff. Yep. Yes. Hey, you can fix whatever you want. Oh, so this is another point though, because right, so you can fix anything obviously up until this deadline. And there's another thing because we do have the option that you can also fix everything at the end. Okay, so you will submit your final submission will be 3 or potentially 4 reflection papers. That's your final submission to Inspera, which is you've all used Inspera, right? We used it before, right? That's it. That's your final thing. And I haven't really specifically written that. I had to check with student administration whether or not we could do this. But everything is that works fine. So we do have the option to here. You can also perfect them at the end before you hand them in, right? I haven't written that specifically either because I didn't know if we could do that, but that's fine. So you can, this is just to, make sure people are on track. But then you can also hand them in here and perfect them before you turn them in. So there's a lot of areas of perfection. But what I'm saying here is that you don't have to think that all the sculpts and everything should be perfect. It's not the point. There's a progress. Yeah. So yeah. Yes. Other things. Yeah. Good, good. I think it's better now. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So these are the main feedback points. These are the most important feedbacks, I think, because these are the formative feedbacks that's going to could potentially help your work, right? For the reflection papers, the feedback would serve the purpose that you can write a better reflection paper. I can provide you with feedback on the reflection papers, but in my opinion, this is the most important feedback. This is formative feedback for your work. It will be in writing. Hmm. And then during the lab session, since now we have more time to do recap, so I'm doing it here and we're doing it here, I have more time with you where we don't have to cover new grounds, but I will look over your stuff, right? Which is helpful. There's no new, no, so I thought we could do like a Q&A thing if you have questions. If there's anything you want to repeat or some issues you're having or something. So we meet here at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and then if you can prepare some questions or issues or relating sculpting or relating this, like the 3 character maquette assignment. If you want, we can also open your stuff here, if you we can get on the server here. That could be insightful. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear. Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. See what else. So, okay, so other issue was the Facebook confusion with both of the groups and everything. And I think from now on we'll do the official course correspondence will be through Fronter. So you'll just check Fronter. I'll post information on Fronter. It's this university policy, anyways. I have posted all the messages on Fronter, anyways, but now it will only happen here to cause less confusion because we have a dedicated room for the course. So, and then you still have your class Facebook groups. Yeah, but I think that's better for a larger group. Okay, so no more course documents in Google, no more milestones. This is the new thing, version 2.0. Okay, all right. So, yeah. Well, how long are we in here today? Do we have more time here? Oh, CBER Summit. It starts, I thought it was tonight, but I guess this would be tomorrow night. Because tomorrow night would be the day of October 6th in California. So it would be tomorrow night, right? I think so. If my math and time zones aren't completely messed up. But anyways, so yeah, so tomorrow night, I'm unsure the exact time. But oh no, it is today actually. So this was what I was thinking. This is the live sculpt off. Oh, sorry, I wasn't completely wrong. Uh, this is interesting. Have some of you seen it? The CBER Summit videos? Started watching? Oh, yes, some of it. This is it. This is the actual live thing. It's happening now. Tonight starts with a sculpt off. So a friend of mine, Jessica Johnson, she works at Blizzard, and she usually does the commentating. She's a commentator. So it's like a sports commentating thing and a live sculpt off event. It's quite fun. Yeah. Yeah, so if you want, I've arranged it so that the buildings are open all night. for all of you. And so I heard Luai was pretty excited about this, and he had tried to make it happen. So if he's not here, but if I'll tell him, and maybe he could take the charge of this. I don't know. But anyways, the buildings are open, so you can watch it in B123, or also the A107 is open if you want to be sculpting and watching. So that's all night, tonight and Friday night and Saturday night. So that's a good weekend. The only thing is with the reason why, or the silly reason why you can't have access at night is that there's a fire code, which is just a stupid reason. But they don't want people sleeping at school. So if you find it's really boring and you want to take a nap, go home. Don't sleep there. That's their main thing. But it's pretty silly. Right. So, anyways, so we'll just start the live stream. You know, people could pop in. It's pretty interesting. You should check it out. All right. So, yeah, let's take a break. We'll meet back here 10 minutes.